There we go. All right, people. Welcome. It's 2022 officially. This is the first session we're doing in the new year, which makes me very excited. We did a couple, of course, in the 2021. We're gaining numbers every week, so that's a positive, I guess. And I think I already talked about it a little bit in the Discord. I would love to take this opportunity because I don't know, there weren't really concrete examples of topics that we want to talk about this week. And of course, it's a fresh new year, and like Kasia said, we're all just getting back into the groove of work and everything that's happening. Although I think Ferry still doesn't sleep, so nothing changed there. But I want to take this opportunity to talk about the community. I'll give a little introduction. Of course, we started Band of Insiders 5-6 weeks ago. I can't even remember. It was the hunch, which is just, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it and see what happens. We'll just open it up for everybody, and we had a lot of great feedback, great conversations. Met a lot of people, and we're having a blast so far. But also, like when we first had the idea about starting a community, for us, it's all about connecting like-minded people, helping each other grow, sharing knowledge, things that we know, but also, you know, if people struggle with challenges, I mean, some people that you can spar with, brainstorm with, are so key to success, in my opinion. And if you know, sometimes you're stuck with something and you throw it out to anyone, and they have an easy solution to a problem, and that's exactly what we want to achieve with Band of Insiders. And I think that's slowly happening more and more. I see people reaching out for help. I see people helping others who they never met before, which is amazing. But also another thing is that this is not a dictatorship, as in we don't know where this should go. We don't know exactly where this can go. It all depends. And that's why I would love as much input as possible from the community itself. And I think that's why everybody was here. And like I said, I think it's a good kickoff to start the year with just an open brainstorm to start off with about the community, and what are you guys enjoying? What do you guys think should we change? What should we do? How can we expand? What would possibly be new ideas that we can implement? And like, again, it's all about connecting people, sharing information, sharing knowledge, and helping each other. And I just would love to hear thoughts, and like let's have an open brainstorm about it. And as soon as there's, you know, other topics that people have questions that, you know, about stuff that happened in the last couple of weeks, feel free. Of course, we can. This is an open discussion. But in the hey, Julian, but I would love to kick it off with an open brainstorm. So I know. Oh, there we go. People already raising hands again, which is very nice. No shouting. JV, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I saw your question in the Discord. What is this community about? Of course, we as a community, and I think you as a creator, you want it to grow because the more people we have, the more topics we can cover, the more help we can hand out to people. But that is also the risk, and that is just a question that I want to throw out there. I've been looking a lot into the NFTs, and what we had in our NFT channel, a lot of links to other Discords, and what I immediately I noticed that there was a lot of spam. I got a lot of fishy DMs from I think I joined 3-4 of them, and I think I got 10 direct messages that were just spam, or maybe even a virus. You know, if you click on it, you lose all your Bitcoin. So
that's how I got scammed. I told you the last time, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that is something, you know. As of what we've been doing now, we've been sharing the content we create or the discussions we have on LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn in that regard is a very safe environment because
Yeah.
8 out of 10 times the people you share with you have met or know, or you know people who know them, so that's fairly safe. But it's also a limiting factor in terms of how fast can you grow a community. But yeah, I don't know how, but we need to make sure that the people who join are actually able to contribute, or not even contribute, but maybe are not there for the wrong reasons. Let me put it
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. It's I had the same experiences. Like if I see a Discord and I see 15,000 people, like there's no way to have a proper conversation, and it's very tough. I think that's something we need to protect. I think now the group of people that are actually talking in the Discord is slightly getting bigger. But there's also a lot of people that I talk to that say, like, they're very much enjoying the content that's being shared, and they only, read and take everything in and don't respond. And that's fine also. But it's a fine line, like you said, because also, the more people that with experiences and knowledge get in, it's the more interesting it could possibly become. I think it's something that we should definitely protect, and we're very on top of that. That's also one of the reasons why Robert couldn't be here today, but why I eventually said, okay, I need somebody to help with this, because and he's done it before, so that's been a big help. But yeah, I totally agree. Santi, you want to take the stage?
Yes, please. So I totally agree with JV Gaming. I think that there has to be a level of scrutiny kind of who comes on, and that it's not for like spamming reasons or just to do a sales pitch of their own business or services. On the other hand, like I've been having like a lot of super meaningful conversations that have actually led to business opportunities, whether by direct question in terms of like, hey, can you help me with this, or can you help me with that? And also through you and Gregory's efforts to kind of put a couple of my questions out on your LinkedIn page. That's actually helped me find a marketing agency with whom I can start building my company further. And if I would have done that through LinkedIn, also in terms of like, hey, finding appropriate people to pick up a tech project, that would have cost me a lot of money, like seriously, a lot of money, and having to go through a lot of BS offers, because I feel that on LinkedIn is really, I think, mostly focused on kind of like the mammoth organizations who are focused on more like the older type industries. And where people, because there's like this like system, like you see everyone's avatar, like how they want to perceive to be instead of what they're actually interested in, or who they actually are. Like there's this like culture that kind of messes up things. I think with Band of Insiders, you're kind of focused on the new technologies, on new ways of branding, personal branding, on emerging company forms or company structures. And I think you still have the agility of starting up this network. So I think there are parts of LinkedIn in terms of like the opportunity to get questions answered, to find reliable partners that you could incorporate into Band of Insiders, but with a very specific focus on people that fit with what you want the brand of Band of Insiders to be, right? So if it's about NFTs, if it's about gaming or the gaming industry wider, if it's about crypto, blockchain technologies, whether it's specifically about personal branding, I think that there's kind of like a realm of opportunities there that we could tap into. And of course, then that kind of depends on like, hey, who wants to put forward a question, right? And I think we can kind of brainstorm different options on how to kind of engage more members. But I think that could kind of lead to like a niche where Band of Insiders could really shine compared to the other networks out there like LinkedIn. But again, as JV Gaming said, there needs to be a level of scrutiny who is then included in that group.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is coming back to the fact that we used your opportunity and we shared it on LinkedIn, is that it's an extra step that people have to do in order to get the gig. Because we told them, like, you can, this is a paid opportunity, but if you want it, you need to join the Discord. And people that actually did are, I guess, more serious and are have a bigger willingness to do so. And then I know I saw one of the guys, and he was actually pretty intrigued in the beginning, and he joined some calls and stuff. So that was cool. But indeed, like, and in an ideal world, I would love to have the conversations that I have with people, not offline, because it all happens online these days, but more one-on-one. I would love these conversations to happen in the Discord or in chats like this, and I haven't found a solution yet on how to trigger that somehow in the community. Like, I haven't seen any people yet that actually have business challenges right now, or personal challenges, maybe a bigger step, but you know what I'm trying to say, and see if they, if there's people in the community that can help them. And again, this is not, for me, nothing is a must in this community. I don't have a clear roadmap. It's like, okay, we have to make it like this, we have to make it like this. I just believe that it could help a lot of different people. But in order to, maybe we need some little sparks, or we can create some little, concepts or stuff that we can actually help more people, because we do have an amazing group of people so far, and there's a lot of different experiences in there. I've seen, people that I know, people that I don't know, and that's super interesting. So yeah, I'll go. There's some hands in the air. Faye, you're first.
Yeah, thanks. One of the things I noticed is it's quite a big server. And a lot of people are scattered throughout. There's people actively posting in gaming or NFTs or cryptos. I don't have the time to look at all the servers and all the groups. So I feel that I'm missing out on people's expertise because it's not centrally gathered. I know that's a big challenge to tackle, right? But I do look at the introductions just to see who comes in, what are their expertises. Maybe I can help them in the long run. I just want to know who's there. But not everyone introduces themselves. Of course, they're free to do so. But then there's so much going on so many different levels that it's kind of hard to know, like, who's in the Discord. So I think we're missing out on potential connections and helping people or getting help just because everyone's all over the place. So maybe a central thing. I think I've seen it before, like maybe an event, or having an event where people can introduce themselves like we do right here on this call, just on a bit more personal level, so that we can hear what people are about, what they do, what their challenges are, because I think then the connections will fall into place. People who are like-minded on gaming might miss each other because one is posting in crypto and the other is posting in gaming. So I think if there's like a central theme or an event once every month or whatever, I think then we can really get to see more people. You won't get to see everyone, but I think just a bigger group of people. And I think that we can really get to know more people than we would just scanning through all the messages, because there's so much going on. You cannot keep up with everything. So if there's one central thing, that will be a big help.
So something popped in my mind before I go to Jurian. You would almost like to see like a weekly user highlight, as in, this week we highlight I don't know, JV, but not but private. So we just explain what the person does and what the person stands for, maybe some words from the person themselves. And if people then want to connect with that person, they send me a message, for example, and say, hey, I just saw the introduction of so, but then it's because I totally understand what you're saying. And I also, every time I see somebody new jump into Discord, I'm like, okay, please, introduction. And then there's no introduction. I think, shit. Because then we don't know. And then it's hard for me to help him or for anyone else to help him. And I understand that's a little bit scary for a lot of people, and I totally get that. And in order to give them more of an opportunity to build meaningful connections, maybe indeed, me personally, I stand up as a connector and said, okay, person X, give me in 5 sentences, what do you do? And let me share that in a dedicated channel. And people that read that and think, okay, I would love to talk to this person, send me a message saying, why do you want to talk to this person? Which they can then bring to Mr. Private or Mrs. Private to say, hey, this came up, would that be interesting to you, etc. Maybe that's something. I don't know. What do you think, Ferry? Before I go to Jurian.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Because the thing is, it could be that JV Gaming posts a question in gaming or shows his experience, which would be missed in the server of connecting, or So yeah, but isn't that like a lot of work for you as a connector, especially if the Band of Insiders grows?
This is true.
How would you connect people to each other if it's manual?
Well, the thing is, so let's say, again, we're going to keep JV as an example here. He sends me a personal introduction of what he does and the things that he is, I don't know, maybe the challenges that he has or whatsoever. I share that privately in the channel. And if you then, Ferry, read that and think, oh, this is an interesting person, I would love to meet that person. I mean, in the beginning, that's doable for me because you're going to send me a message. I'm not going to ask everyone personally, say, hey, do you want to talk to this guy or woman? You're just going to send me a message saying, hey, Fons, I just read mystery guest X, his introduction. I would love to meet this person because I think I can add value here, and here. I mean, I'm willing to do that in the beginning for sure. I mean, if it gets out of hand, that's a positive thing. I guess it's just luxury problems, so to say. I just saw Santia. I saw your messages. The problem with that, I think, is Jaren is here. Is that one of the things I think we could and should tackle is that people are a little bit shy to introduce themselves. So that's what I'm thinking of. Like, how can we then take that away to make it more comfortable for people to share what they do and what they walk into? So Jurian, your hand has been up. I know you're driving, so I hope you can do this safely.
Yes, actually, I'm in front of the shop where I have to be, so I parked my car. So
nice.
And you guys are on speaker, so hopefully you won't hear any echo.
No, we're good.
Okay, great. First of all, I would wanted to speak something or to say something from my own experience building a social media app, like Grader, a community of 50,000 people at its max, because I think it applies to what you've said earlier when it comes to managing a community. First of all, it's some kind of strange universal law where if you bunch a lot of people in a group, especially when it's around content, so content oriented, that the vast majority of people are leechers. So what does that mean? That you could expect, even in big communities, that between 2 and these were our numbers, but they are very universal, between 2 and 5% of the people are active contributors. So if you would like to build a community where you'd say, yeah, I want everybody to contribute with meaningful shit, that's just not going to happen. So trying to create that is, if you figure that out, you have a multi-billion-dollar skill at your hands. So I would advise you try it out, but get out of it as quickly as possible, because that's just not going to happen. So then sure. It's a question of, okay, you want to, because it's kind of a two-sided marketplace. You have leechers like I am. I'm a very big leecher on this community, and you have contributors. How do you keep the balance that the leechers have enough content to keep it interesting for them, and how do you keep people, or how do you keep the leechers interacting as much as possible with the contributors? So that's a fine balance, an interesting balance. The balance will shift over time, so you can expect that as well. there will be droughts. It's your part as the community manager to kind of be the guy with the whip to sometimes try to make contributors contribute more, or keep the balance. For now, it feels very organically well done, where there's actually a pretty high percentage, because there are a lot of early adopters right now, a high percentage of people that are contributing. So it feels like a healthy community. That was my comment that I wanted to give, to say that it's always about what is your goal of this community, right? So that's why I wanted to ask a question. Vince, you said an interesting term, that is meaningful connections. Like, could you define what is a meaningful connection, and is that like the big thing that this community wants to create for people? Because if that's it, you can build a structure around that. And I was just wondering, explain it to me, or explain it to the rest.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why we wanted to do something like this is that our network is pretty big, and we hear a lot of, we get a lot. I see the question, Els. I'll definitely come back to that too. We have a big network. We hear about a lot of things. We get offered opportunities, sometimes investment opportunities, partnership opportunities. And we thought, okay, not everything is for us. You know how it works. I mean, probably 95% is not for us. And then eventually, we wanted to share that because that opportunity might not fit me or Gregory or whoever, but it might fit somebody else. And I think that's one of the reasons why we thought, okay, if we just have indeed an active community where we can share these things, or we can bring people together that then do have their answers or their needs fulfilled, that to me are meaningful part of connections. So the thing is, I don't think you were here yet when Santi explained. That's why, for example, Santi had a paid opportunity. She was looking for a company to help her with some marketing research challenges, and she didn't have that in her network. So we said, and there was, at that point, there was nobody in the community that could ask that question. So we took that, put it on our LinkedIn's and said, like, hey, there's an opportunity here, which actually turned into what looks to be now a fruitful partnership. That to me is a meaningful connection. And that is, I think, I like that. I love that. I mean, it was awesome to see. And to me, that is the more the better. I definitely do agree that, having everybody contribute is impossible. I fully understand. But it's hard because you almost want to ask the leader, so to speak, say, how can we bring more value? And on the other hand, it's a very thin balance, like you said, because also on the other hand, the other contributors, sometimes I see you guys post some stuff and there's not a lot of response to it, and I almost feel like, oh shit, fuck, I need to do something now to because everybody who contributes likes to receive feedback or interact, and does it for a good reason. So I don't know if that completely answers your question, Jurian, but that's one of the things. I saw, before I go to Jaron and Santi, I saw Els coming in with a good question. It's I don't know if everybody saw it. He is asking, how is contribution defined for this community? I think that's a great question. I don't know if anybody has an answer. I don't know if, Jaron, did you raise your hand for that or for something else? Oh no, yeah, I can't hear you.
Something else, sorry.
I'll go first then. I think how is contribution defined? That's it. I mean, it's a good question. That's why I was wondering if everybody else already had an answer. I mean, the first logic answer is, of course, contributing in the Discord by speaking, by helping other people.
Vince, maybe I can help you out with answering the question.
Okay, go ahead.
How I would define contribution. A contribution in the sense of what I felt in this Discord or in this community is starting a new conversation. So, for instance, somebody posting a link to something interesting, or giving an insight in a channel, say, hey, I've been working on this, or hey, I did this analysis. Tell me what you think, or give me your opinion. So it's a new piece of original content, or maybe content that has been already posted but reposted or anything like that, that gets a conversation starting, right?
Yeah.
And when a conversation starts, meaningful connections, like you defined them, um, can happen, right? Because so that's how I would define it. I'm wondering what you guys think.
Santi, do you want to add this or something else? Okay, go ahead.
So I think the level that we're trying to tackle this question seems to be a little philosophical right now. And I think on the one hand, that's good because that leaves room for wider interpretation and different types of answers. I think if we want to define it for this community specifically, kind of coming back to the question that SL's already asked, is a contribution. I think I can see it in two ways. So that's a piece of content where you've actually added something to the community. However, we want to judge that or value that. I think that's something else. I think a contribution can also be defined as answering a specific question that someone has, or coming up with a solution to a problem that somebody has put forward. I think if we want to define it in terms of like having a certain value, the second one might lead to kind of like a more value-based network, and the other one would be more organic, see what comes up, and hopefully it will match with something, which is okay as well, but I think that's a specific choice.
True. Karen?
Yeah, maybe give it to Els, because I think Els, you already lowered your hand. Because I don't want to interrupt this discussion, because I want to go back one into the question you had about how can we get insight into who does what and what are the interests and
Okay.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think indeed, Els, you want to add to
Yeah,
that first?
guys, sorry, I'm having an issue with changing my name on this. My name is Sylvester. I don't know why it keeps just saying my initial.
It's all good.
It should be changed soon.
No worries.
Well, actually, the thing I wanted to mention is, the reason why I asked the question about what is contributing. It might be an idea to like, I mean, someone here just defined what actually contributing is, and that helps a lot for people to know how to, who are willing to contribute, to know how to do that. So maybe it's an idea to place a page, or I don't know, or some presets of ways to possibly contribute to the community, that people can understand how they can do so. And in that sense, everybody, well, you started the discussion by saying, it's like free, there's no dictatorship, but maybe a bunch of rules is helpful for people to know, like, look, if you do these things, you do contribute, so please continue doing them. And if someone, and talking about the leeches, if there's people who are never ever contributing, I mean, it might still be helpful at some point in the future, but also at the same time, you might be asking them, like, hey, would you like to contribute something soon? Or, like, to motivate them, or maybe please check the list of possible ways to contribute to see if you can do at least one thing a month or something. So in that way, you're avoiding to be a dictator, but at the same time, you're incentivizing people to stay active, to stay a part of the community.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I think it's very interesting what you said, and indeed write it out a little bit. I think, for example, I'm trying to contribute myself, of course, as much as possible. Indeed, try to start conversations, just like Jurian said. And so I know as a contributor that even just adding an emoji to a post is nice feedback to have. It's just how it works, because then you know that, okay, somebody, there was some value to someone that I shared this. So even that, just like you said, Sylvester, even adding that could be meaningful contribution for the community, because then the contributors who put a lot of effort and as you all do into posting and sharing, they stay motivated to do so. So I really like that. I'm definitely going to take that with me to see if I can just a couple of headlines say, what are things that you as a Band of Insider member could do, which is completely free, and whatever is possible and not possible. That's a very interesting thought. Thanks for that, Sylvester. Ferry, you are next.
Yeah, I think people can also contribute without anyone seeing it, right? I mean, if I post something and someone who has never posted anything sends a DM and helps me out or sets up a meeting, that person is still contributing, but without being seen. So if we can figure out a way that we can lure people into contributing out in the open by asking a specific question, or maybe I think Sylvester said it, like if they can do something like once a month you ask a specific question or we get a topic, and just figure out who the experts in the Discord are on that specific topic, like we did with DOAs. Just asking, like, who knows anything about this topic, and are you willing to speak up? Because that just might trigger someone who would be a lurker, and then just try and get them to speak up, but without judging people, because they can contribute without ever being seen, because you can send a DM, you can set up a meeting, but if we can just lure people out with topics or subjects, which you can spot in the discussions, right? Because we can see what things are that are spoken upon often, like NFTs. We did the same thing in the call a couple of weeks ago, where people specifically came for NFTs. So if we can figure out what people are talking about and then figure out who the experts are, maybe we can then like see if people are willing to talk about that specific topic, which then teaches everyone involved who's working on what, who's doing what, who's interested in what topics. That might be something to lure them out, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Of course, that's also what makes it hard for someone like me who started this, as I have no idea what happens in the DM, which is whatever happens in the DM stays in the DM. But so that's something sometimes tough to see. But what's exactly to your point, the whole thing on the DAOs is actually Kasha. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot now, but she asked the question, like, I would love to understand more of this space. So then I thought, okay, we have nobody in the community right now that has actual firsthand experience in DAO. So let me, get out and see if I can find somebody. So we shared it on LinkedIn. Then Jake, who is in the community, said, oh, I know somebody. And he connected me to Malus. And Malus is a serious expert, as we know. And there's now 26 people, I think, have the notifications on for that event. So I'm very excited for that. But that's exactly my point, because it started with somebody in the community, in this case, Kasha, saying, I would love to know more about this. Then I can take action. You know what I mean? Because again, this is exactly what I'm trying to do with this community is we have the network. We know a lot of people. So if somebody asks something, I can definitely bring him in, or Gregory knows somebody. We can almost get anybody on the phone. I mean, not anybody, but a lot of people. But again, it all started with the fact that Kasha asked that question. And then my question is, before I go to Jaron, is then how can we incentivize people to indeed ask those questions? I think that's my biggest challenge right now. Jaron?
Yeah. So I had a few things, but I'm writing them down because otherwise I'll forget as it goes on. What Sylvester said as well, a very good one. But I would maybe structure it that if people join the server, I have it with different servers I join. Before you enter the server, you need to read the server rules. Well, maybe not call them server rules, but server encouragements, so that people see, okay, this is what the server is about, and this is how you could be invested in this server. So I think that's an important one. And then it comes back to, I know what Ferry does. I know what Funds does. I know how massively intelligent Kasha is. So because I spoke with you, I know what you do, but I don't know what Santi or Tamir, what their knowledge base is. So that's what I did myself. I'm a sales guy. I know how to build relationships, how to run a sales department. So what I did in the sales channel in our Discord, I just posted I think a 5-6 line piece on who am I, and if this is something you can use, please send me a DM and I'll be glad, so that people at least know what they can use my knowledge for. And I got a few DMs, asking people to give a talk to their team and help them brainstorm with their team with regards to sales. So I think that's how I did it, but we need to scale that up. We need to have some kind of structure in place that if I need somebody who's knowledgeable about AI, that I can know, oh, Ferry knows a lot about that, or something like that. I don't know how to structure it, but I think that is something that will massively increase the value of our community.
Agreed. I don't know who was first, Ferry or Santi. I can't remember. Oh, Santi was first.
So kind of picking up where Jeroen ended, and also kind of continuing what Ferry said. I think like if you look at LinkedIn, for example, the way you find people, because there's a set structure to their profile, right? And you kind of understand where to look at what specific sections and what search terms to use to find people that can either help you solve a problem, ask a question to, or share interest with, however anyone uses LinkedIn. I think that might be a bit much for a band of insiders, but maybe we can find a hybrid form that kind of gives us a little bit more clarity, or kind of a little bit more visibility in terms of what people do, what they're good at, or what their interests are, instead of kind of like having to scroll through like an entire list of introductions, right? And I think then the second thing is in terms of like how do we get more people to kind of contribute or to add content without adding a level of value to it. I think there are kind of like a couple of general questions to ask without kind of prying or being intrusive. Like, hey, what knowledge or experience is critical for you right now to get your company, project, job, whatever, to the next space? And you can kind of flip that question around in many different forms that gives other people who have that skills or knowledge kind of a hook to start a conversation on, or a hook to kind of have like a DM, because it specifies a need, right? It specifies like, hey, I'm looking for this, anyone who's open to have a conversation with me about it, whether it's in the DM or in the specific channel. I mean, we can arrange something around that. And I think the final thing that, if I think about like, hey, in terms of like Reddit, for example, what helps on Reddit is that there is a level of Reddit karma. And I think if you give people like a confirmation or affirmation of their contribution, I mean, for me personally, if somebody gives me affirmation, I'm like, oh, let me help you better. And I think maybe that's too general, but I think that works for a lot of people. And if we can kind of come up with a level of band of insiders karma, or however we want to define that, I think that might kind of encourage people to be a bit more active, or start contributing a little bit more.
Awesome, thank you. Ferry?
Yeah, I think to Santi's point, I think that the first part of your point is maybe we can have a dedicated list of experts or people who are willing to share what type of knowledge they have. Could help people looking for expertise to find it quicker. Because like what Jaron posted, I might have missed it, not knowing that he's sharing information on sales. So if he is listed on a expert list, then I can see that he's into sales. So if I have a sales question or I want to hire someone in sales, then he's the guy to call. So that would give a quick overview without needing to read 300-400 introductions. That would just be a quick cheat to get that together. another positive point about that, Fons, is that if you have an event or you are looking for a specific topic, then you have experts there listed who might do a talk or who might organize an event. So that's a double-edged sword. The thing for karma is what I hate on Reddit is I don't post anything there because I have a couple of platforms I'm active on, like LinkedIn and over here, but I'm a lurker on Reddit. If I want to answer someone's question, I don't have enough karma to actually post a comment. So I want to help people, but I can't because I'm not posting regularly. So that would actually drive me away from the platform because I'm not able to help even if I want to. So that could get frustrating. So it could work, but the threshold should be low, I think. Or maybe you can comment, but you cannot post unless whatever, something like that. But I think starting with a list of experts, just a central point where you can see who does what, I think that will be a great help.
To quickly, I don't know if you saw my question. To quickly go back to on the expert list, which is a very interesting thought. Can we make that concrete in your eyes? Like, how is it Google Doc that we just put in one dedicated channel that's forever there that you can go to, or how do you see that working in your opinion?
Could go two ways. A Google Doc would be good because you can actively edit and save it if you want. It could also be like a dedicated server part. I've seen it in different servers where they like block something from being edited or commented on, but the server host can add information to it. So it's just like an active post where you can add people. And you can
True,
have
for
people
that,
send
yeah.
a DM like, this is my name, this is my occupation, and this is my LinkedIn, whatever. So that could go two ways. But the thing is, if you use a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, then you can have a Google Drive where you can also share information. But I think that would take it out of the scope of Band of Insiders. So I'd go for a dedicated like server piece.
All right, I want to do a quick poll before I go to Jaren. Everybody who likes his idea on a dedicated channel, please raise your hands. Like with the hand button. Okay, a lot. Okay, done deal. Thank you, Ferry. Jaren, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I love that idea, and that's something we've been working on in our team within my company. We have over 600,000 employees, so there's a lot of knowledge within the company, but it's impossible for everyone to know who to contact when, and that's something even we struggle with. And we personally in our team of 8, we need to set that up. We need to use our own knowledge to build a database of people that we can call if we have customs issues or transportation or operational finance or whatever. So I think that's good, and I think we need to keep it in the Discord. And then I want to go back to Santi about the karma. I just looked it up. There are karma bots for Discord. I think that's a good idea, but indeed not limit people who don't have karma that they cannot comment, because that divides the purpose of our community, I believe. So I think Ferry was right there. But at least you can see people that, according to others, have had a lot of valuable input, and you know that they're not talking bullshit. And
But how do they? Is it different than the bots that we now have for levels, for example?
yeah, so you have, I think you have a separate channel, what I can see here, where the karma bot shows a leaderboard, but we can call it different, of course. That shows the name of the person and how many upvotes they got on messages, on comments, or something like that.
Okay, so if I just for me to understand correctly, if I, for example, post a news item somewhere and I get emojis added to that, responses, then that goes to my karma points.
So what I can see here is that when you post something, that the post will automatically have an up emoji, so an upvote emoji and a downvote emoji. And if those are clicked, those will count towards that leadership board.
Interesting. Okay. That could be cool.
I'll forward you that one that I just found, and that was with 2 seconds of Google. So don't
Cool.
come. But I think
All
that's
right.
a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I would
'Cause who
like to do
knows?
the.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was say let's do a vote again. If we would like to use some sort of karma bot, just raise your hands. Okay, pretty fast. Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Santi, go ahead.
So another thing that I was kind of thinking about is that in terms of like getting more people or newer people to be a little bit more engaged, I think it's sometimes helped to kind of turn it around and to say like, hey, we started, or for example, you and Gregory started this platform. You have a big network, you know, a lot of interesting people. I think if it would kind of start with you guys setting that example in terms of like, setting an open question out there and we need help with this, that would kind of like set an example for a lot of people to be like, hey, this is the type of question, or this is how we want to structure it. I think it will automatically incentivize a lot of people to kind of take part and to join it. I think that can also help them for the next person to kind of reach out to those people like, hey, I saw you in that discussion. That's super helpful. Can you participate in the next one? And it could help with kind of inviting outside people, where we touch on the point of verification that Yaran was talking about in the beginning, where you can invite like external knowledgeable people who can then also become a part of Band of Insiders to help answer specific questions.
Yeah. Oh, I think she hit the wrong button. Tamir,
That was a
you
real
raised your
mic
hand.
drop, eh? That was a mic drop.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And I'm out. Bye. It was same with Sylvester. He was asking questions in the chat, and then I didn't directly go to answer them, and then he disappeared. It's like, oh, Tamir,
No,
I know
excuse
you
me.
raised your hand, so then you took him away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you still want to ask
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Say
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
can say like just like I think all this conversation is really, really good. It's really insightful, and all the ideas were really good. We all vote for it. So thank you guys for this. I really like the platform of the Discord, and I think like it's really useful with the channels. And if we can, I'm not sure if it's possible in terms of like the platform itself, but the expert ideas, if they can be like an expert for every channel or few experts for every channel, and they can kind of make it a bit more organized and even do like a specific calls like this one for specific channel, for specific like with the experts leading it. It can be really nice, and it's also like won't be depends only on you fans to be like the host for all the calls, because it's not logical, of course, to do it like daily or something. But for me in person, this like like Quincy in crypto, he like kind of own it, as Yaran just now write on the message, and then like it doesn't matter even if funds is not available to do it. Quincy can like take the ownership on the channel and do this kind of even weekly calls, or at least like monthly calls if it's not that traffic on the channel. And like for me personally, like this kind of meetings are like let's say it's like can be the most meaningful ones. Like if now I will look to the channels and to the Discord, and I read everything. I'm not commenting on most of it. Sometimes I do, but I read everything basically. But when now, well, like after a few meetings that I joined in this format, if I see your names, the people here in the call, which is the same names in the two other calls that I reach, I am much more related to it. It will encourage me to comment about it, or to like it, or to take it more seriously, let's say, or to be part of the conversation. So I think it's really logical for new people, let's say, to come. They, as you said before, they don't gonna read all the introductions, or they don't gonna figure out in the beginning who is good and what. But joining this kind of call, like in the physical world, you will join a new class, you will see the site for one time, try to like see who is interesting you and who you can get to interact with outside of the call maybe, and then the next call will be easier. And then like this is, for me, this is the most like relevant platform to really get to know the people and find your real connections. And then you can connect with it, like I did with Ferry and New Funds, and then we connected on LinkedIn. I listened to the podcast that you did together. I shared it myself on my profile, and then the connection now it's different. Every time I see you commenting on something, I feel more related to the conversation and I want to contribute myself. So
Yeah.
this is my part.
Yeah, thank you for that. I first of all appreciate for all your contributions. Interesting point. I mean, you've guys all seen Quincy, of course, and I'm definitely in. I'm going to have a conversation with him next week about his involvement in Band of Insiders. But then, I know it's a very hard topic, but not everybody can put this much time into stuff for free. So I'm also going to have a conversation with him, like how could that possibly look? Like he's willing to and able to host weekly calls on the crypto markets, but actually go into detail and help people become better traders, buyers, whatever it may be. But I have to I need to go start giving him something in return for that. And that's also a conversation that I find very hard myself, because I would love for everything to be free, but I see that it's working with Quincy in the channel. Like you said, if I have a dedicated person, I'm talking to somebody else right now about the stock channel, for example, who's a dedicated stock trader, has a bunch of experience, and he's trying to play a bigger role over there. But indeed, I thought about that a lot. Like, can I select different experts for different channels, and maybe that's a band of insiders inside a band of insiders, in terms of where these people actually own their channels, and we can give them something for that in return for their efforts. And so yeah, that's another thing that I've been thinking about a lot, and I would love to hear your opinions on that as well. TK, I know your hand is up. Is that I would love for you to add something if you do. I don't know if it was still from the vote or not. Nope, it's gone. Leroy asked a question too. Is it possible to make some sort of bot/channel that has all the information of people that are willing to share their knowledge? Yeah. Maybe that's exactly what we voted on. The first thing, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a dedicated channel where the people that can are probably going to divide it then in industries or knowledge, and list users there, so people can see and reach out to them if they need somebody in a specific area. So short answer to that, to Leroy, yes, that's going to happen. Jaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what you touched upon with Quincy and the amount of information he shares, I know that for him it's a daily job. So the analysis he makes anyway, but still there should be some return on that. And I think with everyone that has a lot of knowledge like that, but also shares it like he does, and what might be an idea is creating a band of insiders Patreon, with different grades. So usually I have for FUD, I follow a few content creators that I pay monthly, because I like to support others, and they have bronze tier, silver tier, gold tier. But we could structure it for crypto, for stocks investment, for AI, for whatever topic there is. But there needs to be somebody who really invests his time and knowledge and shares on a daily, weekly base. But at least then he will get something in return. A bit of the Patreon, say it's €5 a month or €2 a month, and maybe a little bit goes to you for supplying this service. and a little bit goes to him. So you both gain something out of it. I think that would be the way to go, in my opinion, from a sales perspective.
Thank you. Before I go to Ferry, yeah, very well known on Patreon. Of course, I would love to keep it in Discord. I know there's options for Discord that you can. It's interesting because we talk a lot about NFTs, and that's also definitely. I've seen now a Discord where if you have the NFT in your MetaMask, and then there's a bot that verifies the fact that it's in your wallet, and then it opens up channels. So you can do that with anything. You can also do it with other things. So it doesn't have to be an NFT. But would you rather see that it then, okay, I contributed, and I would love to reach for just to be just like Twitch, just to be open. It's a minimum of €1 a month. Do you want to pay €50 a month? You pay €50 a month. But if
I like the
then,
NFT part, Hans.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
No, because I've seen it with the because the guy that I follow for FIFA, he does it via Patreon, but last month he started to give out the possibility to buy an NFT, either a bronze, silver, or gold tier that relates also to the amount of information you get from him. And once you have it, you can enter those channels as long as you have that that NFT. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to give Quincy, in this case, enough value to keep doing this. And I think definitely look into that, and maybe we need to have another brainstorm with a couple people to see how we can structure it.
Yeah,
always
I agree.
Happy to help.
Good to know. Thank you. Ferry.
Yeah, so the idea just spoken upon, and I think also that starts with what Tamir said. We do the same in the Dutch AI Coalition. Of course, it's not the same because that's a government body, but it's one central how do you say it? A coalition where companies and organizations and everything is in there, and that they're separate workforces or task forces. And you can sign up for one, two, or multiple, depending on your expertise or what you want to learn about or where you want to cooperate. And so if you have a smaller workforce, there's usually like one or two people leading the workforce. And what we do is we get requests, we get projects, we get people who have certain challenges that we are the experts in and we can help them. So what you then get is that you have dedicated groups where people are the expert, but they also know people within those expertise. They can connect each other. So you have like mini connectors. You would be like the bigger connector throughout the entire Discord. But then there's like people with certain specific skills. Like I would call Jaron, like, do you know people who are into sales, or do you know marketing people? Because I know that you're in that specific area. Also, what they do with funding is that the coalition gets a specific amount and then distributes it throughout the experts or the workforces to make sure that they can do their events and they can do their hosting of meetings, etc. So that they take a bit of work away from the bigger coalition because these experts are in these workforces. But the people within the coalition now know that if I have a challenge with AI and robotization, I know I have to go to the robotization workforce where there's a little bit of money and people with expertise where I can dump my problem and see if we can collaborate and make a task force to tackle that problem, which would make the Band of Insiders also a place where people can now start projects together or set up an event specifically for AI. You don't need to be involved, but you could have funding throughout NFTs or whatever to support that specific workforce. And then you can either like pay an expert or start a project. So that they use that structure, and it's very successful because it's self-sustainable.
Very interesting. TK actually raised his hand, so very excited now.
Sorry, that wasn't my intention.
Oh.
But never mind this. But this is my first time in this app to meet you all. Nice to meet you. And I was already putting some information in the fitness forum I'm trying to get people fit in these times of COVID, especially for whom are still with where the gyms are closed, like here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And to be short in that, I believe that I can make a difference. Also, if it's in this short or at Zoom. So that's my what I try to give in the band.
Awesome. Thank you, man, and good to see you here. I think there's a lot, a lot. We are at an hour right now, so I definitely want to slowly round this up. If nobody has anything closing words to say, for me, it is definitely what I hope for from this call, because it gives some concrete ideas on how we can make it even better, how we can possibly help more people, give them more tools to get more value out of the community. Because again, that's my main goal. And I'm excited to start looking into that stuff and yeah, add that to the community. So thank you for that. And again, that's exactly what I want this to be. I want to do this together with everyone that is contributing as much as you guys are. And I appreciate it a lot. It gives me still a lot of energy. So I'm very happy that we, took this step and actually started this finally. So yeah, man, excited for what is to come. And first of all, thank you. Before I go to Jaron. Jaron, go ahead, man.
Last thing, and then I'll shut up. No, I thank you for everyone. It's been a fun ride. I hope that in the coming year we will have the chance to meet face to face, to get some event going face to face. Have fun. We're only 20 minutes apart, 30 minutes apart, but it's I think that's something that that will be extremely valuable as well. So I'm hoping for that. I want to throw in a subject for next week, because I've heard you talk about the funds. I've had the experience, and I think a lot of people, and I don't want to be that we focus only on cryptos or NFTs, but it's a hot topic for everyone in our Discord. Apparently, I think it's one of the more active subjects, and maybe get some people in a call and help us understand how NFTs work, but also the risks, because I think that's something that isn't often highlighted, and you've seen it firsthand. I've seen it now, but it didn't impact me. But maybe that's good in crypto and NFTs, but also in investments, the risks and how to avoid them. Maybe some rookie mistakes that people make that we can share with the world to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
that's just
awesome. I'll take note of that, and let's see if we can bring some people together. I know for next week, of course, we have the call with Marloes about the DAOs, and then the week after that, I'll slowly gather some subject, and I'll make sure there's some people involved in the call that can answer all the questions, and indeed so share some bad experiences like myself. So yeah, that's it, guys and ladies. Again, if nobody has anything to add, then I would love to wish you all a very happy Friday evening. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck with all the rabbit holes that you're going to jump into over the weekend. And we'll probably talk to each other on Band of Insiders. And thanks again for all your contribution and your the fact that you were here again today for a full hour listening to our nonsense. So that makes me very happy. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a great Friday.
Yo, thanks. Have a great day.